Hi, it's the 3rd of May, June, sorry. It feels like the 3rd of May, but it's actually the 3rd of June. We're again in the woods, and of course it's now summer, supposedly, according to the Met Office. But things are still coming into leaf. The larches really haven't come into proper leaf yet. The ashes only just come in. The oaks are a little far behind. We've got a little acacia tree in outside our house, which really hasn't come into leaf at all yet. It's still growing gently. But anyway, the weather is warmer. We've got a week of warm weather, I think, for the first time in about 2 years. And given that it's a comfortable time of year in terms of food and in terms of the weather, I thought I'd talk about one of the aspects of Farafoot that we do, which you won't find with many other bushcraft companies, and that's the therapeutic side. My wife is a doctor and a practitioner of counselling psychology, of years' experience, and she has developed something that she's termed wild therapy, which, if you look it up on the web, you could find it under what they could term as eco-psychology or ecotherapy. But Yvette, just like the rest of Farafoot, has taken it beyond perhaps you will find in the other forms of eco-psychology, in that she terms that wild therapy is a re-engagement with your natural environment, and thereby accruing benefits from the health-giving benefits, both mentally and physically, from your re-engagement with the natural environment. One simple way of explaining it is, if you see here, my favourite part of the Farafoot Woods, which is what I term the Bluebell Glade, which I've been watching for, well, I've been coming in through here for 10 years now, but just every year, every week, or every couple of times a week, I'll take a picture of that. So I've seen it through the seasons. Now the idea is that contact with that natural environment is the health-giving benefit. It's what's been shown through experiments such as the patient who can see a tree from the hospital window has been shown to get better past than the patient who has no view of a tree or has no view of nature. There has been a movement within the last 4 or 5 years, even through government-sponsored initiatives, they're termed green health, to move people away from medicated solutions to things like depressions and anxieties and other mental health issues, where they would prescribe, say, antidepressants, towards, like I said, a green therapy, which is the idea perhaps walking through a wood is beneficial to you, or walking through a park is beneficial. However, what I was going to say was that Yvette also has taken that a bit further. A lot of the wild therapy you will see is conducted actually still within as we would term, a therapeutic environment, which is at someone's rooms, practice rooms. And that the wild therapy is about perhaps an inner wild therapy. The idea that we have domesticated ourselves to within an inch of our existences. We've domesticated our environments, we've domesticated our lives, our internal worlds, so much that actually we need to break free from that domesticated existence and re-engage the wildness that is inherent in every human as an animal. However, Yvette has taken this perhaps what one would term as a feminological aspect, which is the idea that actually you can't strip the human animal out of its environment. I'm just going to turn the flash off for a second. But actually, the environment is intrinsic to that therapy, and therefore we need to conduct that therapy within woods, within parks, within places that have a very intimate and very obvious link to the natural environment. So therefore the practice room becomes the wood, and in that we start to use the techniques that we use within bushcraft, which is lighting fires, making shelters, foraging for food, and you gain an aspect of the simple things of life, simple things to make you live comfortably within natural environments. Those being food, water, shelter and warmth. Everything else is a periphery of peripheral importance. But not only is Yvette also using kind of bushcraft techniques within the therapy, in the wild therapy, she's also using aspects that actually come with the therapy that have been used. Mostly you find them in American, North America, South Africa, places like that. We as a general are a bit more, a society a bit more conservative, but one of the most fascinating I find is aspects like medicine walks and mirror walks. Mirror walks being something where you take an object. I mean, for instance, there's this pine cone. Now I could take that pine cone and carry it with me, and actually there, as I walk through the woods with my object, I imbued that object with my own thoughts and feelings, anxieties, and I develop a relationship with it. Another aspect that I find also fascinating is where you would take someone off into the woods on their own, and in American settings, South Africa, of course, where they have vast wilderness areas and the weather tends to be a lot better than ours, people are sent out into very remote areas, and they will stay in those remote areas for about 4 days. And during those 4 days, it's a very much a meditative exercise where, apart from drinking and eating, they observe and they watch and they listen to what is around them. But apart from that, they do nothing else. I find that it's very interesting. It has a monastic feel. It's very ascetic quality, which you find within the kind of early church, the Christian church, founding fathers. This asceticism where you are removed from your normal environment, and you're put into you take up a very isolated task where you are very much separated from the rest of the world, but within a very, shall we say, wild environment. Some of the very obvious kind of early Christian monks, this is exactly what they achieved as well. But for me, that's actually quite an interesting element of using a combination of bushcraft and therapy to achieve a therapeutic benefit. But I think there is a movement at the moment amongst not just, this is not an alternative therapy, as you say, this is not aromatherapy, or it's not one of these rather therapies that sit on the kind of very cusp of what would be considered to be a therapy and what would be considered to be just a strange way of life. But the government and other bodies like Minds, which is a body concerned with mental health issues, are sponsoring and actively funding bodies and companies who are offering this, what they term as this green health alternative. The only downside I see with the government ones is that they see no difference between, say, walking through an urban environment park and as I'm doing here, walking through a wood in deepest, darkest Shropshire. They don't see the difference at all in terms of environment, and also they see it much more as an exercise activity in terms of the fact that if you ran on a treadmill, would you not have the same level of benefit as somebody who was to walk through a wood? We strongly disagree with that. We think the environment is very much a part of the therapy, so you can't just stick someone in front of a TV set showing a wood and stick them on a treadmill. You would not have the same benefit. But anyway, I'm going to turn off now. Yes, the wild therapies are all available through Farafoot. It's very much an exciting proposition because, as far as we know, in this country, nobody's taken it to this level of dedication. But again, it's about living generously rather than treating this as a survival. So we don't make anybody eat worms or sleep in a puddle. Actually, we treat people very well, and they live very well, very comfortably within our wild therapy camps, just as much as they live in the bushcraft camps. What we try to teach across the whole of the Farafoot offerings is that the British way of camping is a very uncomfortable way of camping. We live in cold tents made of nylon, which get damp. You don't have fires because they burn your tents, and you sleep in very restricted sleeping bags. And actually what we're trying to teach here is actually you can live very well outdoors, even in wet and disgusting conditions. And you don't need to be cold, you can actually be warm. You can eat well, just as like you would eat at home. You don't need to eat food out of packets, and you don't need to sleep in a puddle in a tiny sleeping bag that was designed for a mountaineer. Alright then, speak to you later. Bye bye.